Welcome to you from around the world. This is a Talk with My Dad weekly podcast with Dorothy Atema.
Hi, Dad. This is another day, exciting day.
Good to be with you, Dorothy.
I look forward for these days. For all the people who are listening, we meet on Fridays for 1 hour, and I look forward for these Fridays because I also get things that really help me, Daddy. And today we are going to talk about how to handle criticism. You know, everyone will experience criticism at some point in their lives, and it might seem awkward or unpleasant and often quite personal. And the first thing you want to do is avoid it or defend yourself. And I know that in your life, you've gained some experience that you can give us some things that can help us on how to handle criticism, because criticism isn't bad, is it, Daddy?
Well, anyone who would attempt public work or anyone who will assume leadership will face some criticism. If you're not being criticized or having to deal with criticism, it's a sure sign that you're doing nothing. We may not like it, but criticism is part of human activity. For leaders, it is natural, and one must learn how to take it. I confess to you that I had to learn to deal with criticism. My overcoming criticism didn't come easy. I had to learn and trust God, and through trial and error, learn to deal with it. Someone said, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. And this, of course, is easier said than done. So I'm delighted today to be able to share with you some of the things that I have learned from teachers and from others and from experience along the way, how to deal with criticism.
Why is it so difficult to accept criticism, especially when you're a leader? And of course, if you're a leader, it doesn't matter what kind of a leader you are going to be criticized.
True. Well, it's because that you are doing something with the best intentions, and you are putting everything into it. You are spending time, you're exercising energies, you're doing your best. And then to have someone come along and to pull down what you're doing and find fault with what you're doing when you're doing your best can be very challenging. And it takes a big person, a mature person, a person who has developed in this area to be able to positively approach your critics and the criticism that they offer.
Is there good criticism and bad criticism?
Yes. It's important that we understand the difference between constructive and destructive criticism. There's a big difference. Constructive criticism can be offered to help you to better yourself and to be more effective in what you're doing. While destructive criticism is that type of criticism where you have fault finders. They're always out to see something other than the good that you intended. They're out to pull you down, and their efforts and their work is basically negative, not positive, very negative. And to be able to understand the difference between the good criticism and the bad is something you learn along the way.
So let's start with the people who always want to find faults. People who are always finding fault, and they're there to pull you down, but really not, it's not constructive criticism. How, as a leader, do you deal with that?
Well, first of all, you have to face the criticism objectively.
Mm-hmm.
Face the criticism objectively. Don't take it as they're out to get you, out to hurt you, out to damage you, but rather face it objectively. Is there any good in this? Is there true? Is it true what they're saying? Can it be better? Can I do something differently? And if you face it objectively and you discover that nothing in the criticism is intended to better what you're doing, but rather find fault with what you're doing for the sake of hurting you and disturbing you, if that is the case, then you have to realize that the one who is offering the criticism is not for you. That person is definitely against you. And this is where you have to be very careful.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be careful that you don't go after the critic,
Mm-hmm.
because you can go after the critic and in so doing hurt the good that you're trying to achieve. Don't go after the critic. Rather, realize that the person has his or her own problems, and what they're doing is bad. And so you should pray for the person.
Mm-hmm.
Pray that God will open their eyes and help them to see that their actions are not good intended at all. So pray for them. And then you should just forget it. Forget
Mm-hmm.
it. Don't spend your energy and your time going after the criticism, trying to prove that you're right and they're wrong. You can spend a lot of time and a lot of energy going after the criticism that is intended to hurt you. Leave it alone. Wait for the time to prove your critic wrong. Carry on the work you're doing and just forget them, and let the work you're doing speak for itself.
Oh, Daddy, that is $1 million advice right there. I tried to get back, not to get back, but to try to prove that I was not wrong to the fault finders. And it never helped in the end.
Never.
It just took all my energy, and it took so long. I tried this and tried that and tried this. Thank you so much for that. You don't need, you forget it. Don't take it personally, forget it. But it is so difficult to forget sometimes, because it is very hurtful. You wonder, why is this person so evil like this?
You can't imagine why someone, or you can't for all your good intentions.
Yes.
You can't figure out why someone would spend that energy and concoct such a wicked and terrible accusation,
Mm-hmm.
simply to detour you, derail you, and defeat you. You can't imagine. So you leave it alone. You pray for them, you forget it, and you just keep on going the way that you're going, and let your good work speak for itself.
And it does in the end. The good work does in the end speak for itself. Now let's look at, how do you deal with the constructive criticism? Sometimes you get constructive criticism, but the way it is told is not very constructive. Is that possible, that you can get?
Yes, I agree with you. There's some who do offer good constructive criticism, but you wish that they would do it a little differently. The methods that are applied can be hurtful and destructive, but there are people who genuinely respect you, highly regard what you're doing, and their criticism can be extremely beneficial. I would say that you have to be a big person, big enough and humble enough to accept criticism, to acknowledge, hey, this is good stuff, and to say, yes, I accept it and I will apply it. I will do my best to implement it. Give me time, but I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
I accept it and I will implement it. And sometimes you have to be big enough to recognize the person who offered the constructive criticism. Don't act as though it's your own. You came up with it. No, give credit to whom credit is due. Recognize the individual who offered the constructive criticism so that he or she would be grateful that they were able to make a positive contribution to what you're doing.
I really like what you're saying, that give credit where it's due. There's so many instances where people take credit which is due to other people so that they can look good. But really, if you give credit where it's due, you look even better than I think you look even better when you give credit where it's due than when
That's
you take
right.
somebody's credit. Now, you've said something that I would like for you to elaborate a little bit, if you can. You said that the person has to be big. And then that leaves me to any opinion of what I think is big. What do you mean by the person has to be big? That they are big, they can give credit to somebody who gave them a constructive criticism, not in the right way, or, they can be big enough to ignore and forget somebody who is out to destroy them. What do you mean by being big, especially for leaders?
Small-minded people are always on the defense. They're always defending themselves. And so whatever happens, they ask the question, is this going to hurt me? Is this going to pull me down? Is this going to make me look smaller and not as intelligent as I think I am? It's a self-centered, egotistical disposition that hurts an individual in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be, and when I said big enough, you have to be willing to recognize you are not perfect. None of us are perfect. We're all at that point of learning. Education is an ongoing thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an old man and I'm still learning. And I'm realizing how little I know. And so once you are willing to accept things that you didn't know before or you didn't see before, you are building yourself up in acknowledging that's better than what I was thinking. Hence, I should embrace it, endorse it. I should let the individual know that he or she has helped me. And so we go on from there, being positive and being constructive. But if you're going to be constantly defending yourself, thinking that you're perfect, you can do no wrong, you know it all, then you are going to hurt yourself in the end.
Oh, I know that. So thank you so much, Daddy. I really, really, really enjoyed this moment talking about criticism and how we should deal with criticism. Let's take a short break and then we come back.
Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying it, make sure you share it out. Here again is Dorothy and Reverend Dennis White. Welcome.
Welcome back, Daddy. I'm really enjoying discussing about criticism. And I want us to look at where somebody receives criticism and they feel down because they're receiving criticism. What should we advise such a person?
Well, I think, Dorothy, what you're getting at is, does criticism ever come to an end?
Yes.
The answer is no. As long as you are in the human arena, as long as you are leading, as long as you are working and you're a public figure, you're out there before people, you're going to be criticized. Now, the difference is not that the criticism will stop. The difference is you grow up. And so you don't see the criticism and feel the criticism like you used to when you were younger in the work or in the endeavor. So it's not that criticism will stop. It is that you mature and you become able and capable of dealing with it more objectively instead of subjectively.
Yes.
I think one of the things we got to face at one time or another is dealing with feeling sorry for ourselves. You can be criticized, and you get so much of it that you feel sorry for yourself. And when you feel sorry for yourself, you respond to that by wanting to run. But where do you run to? Because wherever you go, as long as you're going to be involved in some aspect of leadership or public ministry, you're going to find criticism. It's there. So where do you go? And you can't keep running all your life. So the important thing is to grow up. And as you grow up and mature and learn how to deal with criticism, how to take the heat, then you're more able to live with it. And you don't see it and you don't respond to it like you did in earlier times.
Now, when you talk about this, I think about the criticism I receive as a public leader, as a volunteer leader in everything I do. But I can imagine you received a lot of criticism as a pastor, Daddy.
I certainly did, man. It came at me. Both guns were shooting, both barrels, rather, of the gun was loaded and directed against me. And at times it was very overwhelming. And my tendency was to feel sorry for myself because I felt I was doing good. And why then are people directing criticism? Some of the criticism was very, very obnoxious, very evil and wicked. And I couldn't figure out why. But the criticism never left. It took different forms. It came in different ways from different people. But I grew up. And as I grew up and as I recognized that I had to deal with it, then I came out of myself. Instead of feeling sorry for myself, I became more objective and found ways to deal with the criticism that caused the critics to be silent. Of course, not silent forever, but to help them to see that I was not responding the way they wanted me to respond.
That is the point. When the critics come, especially the ones that are not objective and constructive, they want you to respond, or they want other people, they want some reaction. And
That's
so
right.
if there is, so you have to be wise not to give them the reaction they expect.
Don't give them the fire, the fuel for the fire. Don't give them the fuel for the fire. When you respond negatively, you give them the fuel for the fire. The fire will go out if you wisely and at times be very quiet and silent, pray for them, and don't even make them the object of your concern.
Mhm.
Just keep on doing what you've been doing. Let the work speak for itself. And you're surprised that the criticism dies down. It will rise up in some other thing another time, but you will overcome. Once you learn to overcome, you will get the strength to go on for the next challenge.
Fantastic. Now, that kind of criticism really goes for all public workers, all public figures, but the same kind of criticism can be in simple working spaces. And I can imagine that you could be working in an office or a space where you're getting too much criticism as a person to a point where can it be detrimental at some point?
Yes, criticism comes in different ways, different forms, by different people, different situations. But the basic way of dealing with it remains the same.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be with you, with you. The criticism will be there, those people will be there, but you, how you behave, how you react, how you respond, how you see yourself, what you think of what you're doing, who you are. This is very important. When you can deal with yourself and have a right attitude, when you can guard your own attitude, your own thinking and behavior and responses, criticism will die down. You will overcome it. Sometimes you have to seek to be friendly with the critic and
Mm-hmm.
win the critic over
Mm-hmm.
by love and by kind gestures, so that they will change their attitude towards you. Some people criticize because basically they don't know you.
Yes.
They don't really understand why you're doing what you're doing. And because they are in the dark, they criticize. But if people can get to really know you, who you are, the person you are, then you could change the attitude of the critic.
I want to end with this note, and maybe that you can say add something on it also. When you are a leader, you really need to invest in yourself also. And that's why I started the coaching program. You need to invest in yourself so that your attitude, your mind, who you are, your identity, and your mental health, and your how you feel about yourself and your goals and what you're doing, you are at a good place, you're at a strong place. You have if God has called you to do something, you don't have any doubt about it, and you have a rock to stand on and a good support system, so that when all this come, if you have coming from a strong base and a good place, you will respond differently. But if you have your own issues, then that's what we call small minds. You'll be defensive because your wall is broken. You have no wall around you. What do you think, Daddy? What would you add for a parting shot on that?
Now, first of all, if you know what you're doing and why you're
Mm-hmm.
doing what you're doing, and you know that your intentions are genuine, they're constructive, you've even gotten a sense of direction from the Lord, and you know you're on the right track, when you have settled that, that will enable you to face whatever objections or criticisms come against you. Then, secondly, when you have come to realize who you are, why
Mm-hmm.
am I a public figure? Why am I a leader? Am I here to justify my own actions and behavior? Am I here to elevate myself? Am I here to rule and to lord it over people? Or am
Mm-hmm.
I here because I have people's interests at heart. I'm here to seek the best for people. So once you know who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, and that what you're doing is solid and you know it's right, you have the strength and the fortitude to meet criticism positively and constructively. But if you are quick to get offended, if you're easily hurt and easily disturbed, then, as someone said, maybe it's time for you to get out of the kitchen. You don't belong in the kitchen. Because you
don't belong.
You can't face the heat. You have to recognize that that's part of the job. That will come with the territory. So if you are not prepared for that, don't go in the kitchen. Stay out of the kitchen.
That's a good way to, yes.
If you venture into the kitchen, then you have to be prepared to learn and learn fast.
Yes.
Learn fast how to take the heat.
Wow, what a way to end this session today, Daddy. That was so enjoyable, talking about criticism. And it comes with the territory. Criticism.
That's right.
That's what we have learned today. Learn how to deal with it. It comes with the territory if you are a leader. Thank you so much, Daddy. There's no one better to teach us this than you. You led massive ministry, and thank you so much. I thank God for this opportunity to learn from you. Until
Nice
next time, everyone. Yes, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. I believe you were blessed. Please follow our podcast at www.dorothyatena.com.